It was a bright summer morning in the small city of Greenwood. The streets were full of life as people moved quickly, carrying coffee cups and talking about their busy plans. In the middle of the city stood one of the most popular hotels, the Silver Palm. It was known for its shining floors, soft music in the lobby, and polite staff. The hotel manager, Mr. Stephen, took great pride in how everything looked perfect. He liked order, calm, and guests who followed his rules exactly. That morning, Mr. Stephen stood at the front desk checking the reservation list. He wanted everything to go smoothly because an important guest was expected later that week. He adjusted his tie and smiled when a group of business travelers entered. He always tried to make a good impression on people he thought were important. To him, appearance mattered more than kindness. Outside the hotel, a small car stopped near the entrance. Inside sat a man and his young daughter. The girl's name was Maya. She was around 12 years old, sweet and polite, with a soft smile and big, curious eyes. She had a disability that made it hard for her to walk without help, so she used a small wheelchair. Her father, Mr. Brown, gently helped her out of the car. They had driven for hours to spend the weekend in the city because Maya loved visiting new places. Her father wanted her to enjoy life and see that her dreams mattered as much as anyone else's. As they reached the hotel entrance, Maya looked around with excitement. The tall glass doors, shiny lights, and the sound of the fountain in the lobby made her eyes sparkle. She felt happy and proud that her father had planned this trip just for her. Mr. Brown pushed her wheelchair forward and smiled as they entered. Inside, the lobby was full of people checking in and out. The marble floor was polished and the smell of fresh flowers filled the air. But as soon as Mr. Stephen noticed Maya's wheelchair, his smile faded slightly. He had always thought that such guests made other customers uncomfortable. He had strict ideas about what kind of people should stay in his hotel, and sadly, kindness was not one of them. Mr. Brown approached the counter with his usual calm and friendly tone. "Good morning. I have a reservation under the name Brown. We booked a room with accessibility features." Mr. Stephen glanced at the computer and nodded stiffly. "Yes, I see your booking. But I must tell you, sir, our accessible room is currently being cleaned." "You'll have to wait." Mr. Brown smiled patiently. "That's all right, we can wait here for a bit." He looked at Maya, who was happily watching the big chandelier hanging above them. Maya whispered, "Dad, this place looks so pretty." Mr. Brown smiled warmly. "It sure does, sweetheart," but Mr. Stephen frowned. "Please don't block the main walkway," he said sharply, looking at Maya's wheelchair. "Guests need space to move through." Mr. Brown's smile faded slightly, but he calmly moved Maya to the side. "Of course. We'll stay here until the room is ready." Minutes passed and more guests came and went. Mr. Stephen continued to serve them politely, offering drinks and smiles while completely ignoring Maya and her father. Maya felt uncomfortable but didn't say anything. She quietly watched the people walking by and the staff moving around. She wondered why the manager's voice sounded so cold when he spoke to her father. After nearly half an hour, Mr. Brown approached the counter again. "Excuse me, sir. Could you please tell us how long the wait might be? My daughter is getting a bit tired." Mr. Stevens sighed loudly. "As I said, the room is being cleaned. I cannot rush the process. Maybe next time you should call ahead to confirm such details." His tone was sharp and his words were heavy with impatience. Maya lowered her eyes. She didn't like when people spoke to her father like that. He was always kind to everyone. Mr. Brown, trying to remain calm, nodded and said softly, "I did call ahead, sir. I spoke to your staff. They confirmed everything." Before he could finish, a couple entered the lobby and walked straight to the counter. Mr. Stevens' attitude changed instantly. He greeted them with a big smile and offered them water. "Welcome to the Silver Palm, sir, madam. How may I assist you today?" Maya noticed the difference. She whispered, "Dad, why is he nice to them but not to us?" Mr. Brown's heart sank a little, but he smiled at her. "Sometimes people forget how to be kind, but we must stay patient." When the couple left, Mr. Stephen finally turned back to them. "All right, your room is ready," he said in a cold tone. "Please make sure your daughter's wheelchair doesn't damage the hallway walls or furniture. We've had issues before." That was the moment Maya's smile completely disappeared. She looked down, her hands tightly gripping the arms of her wheelchair. Mr. Brown took a slow breath. "I assure you my daughter is very careful," he said gently. A young bellboy came to help with their luggage. Unlike Mr. Stephen, the boy smiled kindly at Maya. "Welcome to our hotel, miss. I hope you'll enjoy your stay," he said. Maya's face brightened a little and she thanked him politely. Together they went to their room, leaving the lobby behind. As soon as they were gone, one of the receptionists quietly said to Mr. Stephen, "Sir, that was a bit harsh." The girl looked upset. Mr. Stephen frowned. "I run this hotel the way I see fit. Guests must follow our standards. If they can't, they should go somewhere else." He turned and walked toward his office, unaware that his behavior would soon bring him more attention than he ever wanted. In their room, Maya looked around. The room was beautiful, with large windows showing the city view. But she wasn't as cheerful as before. Her father noticed. "You're quiet, Maya. What's on your mind?" She hesitated. "Dad, why was that man so rude? Did we do something wrong?" Mr. Brown sat beside her and smiled softly. "No, sweetheart, you did nothing wrong. Some people see others differently because they don't understand them. But remember, you are strong, kind, and important." Maya nodded slowly, though her heart still felt heavy. She looked outside the window and said, "I wish people could see that being different is not bad." Her father gently placed his hand on hers. "One day people will learn, and maybe, just maybe, something good will come from this trip." That evening they went downstairs for dinner. The restaurant was bright and busy. When they arrived, the hostess looked unsure and whispered something to the waiter. Mr. Stephen, standing nearby, noticed them and walked over again. His tone was sharp once more. "Sir, your daughter's chair may block other guests. Maybe it's better if you take your dinner upstairs." A few nearby guests looked at them, surprised by his words. Maya's eyes filled with sadness. She wanted to disappear. Before Mr. Brown could reply, another hotel staff member approached quietly and said, "Sir, I can arrange a table near the window. It's more open and private." Mr. Brown smiled at the kind worker. "That would be lovely, thank you." As they enjoyed their dinner, Mr. Stephen kept throwing glances their way, annoyed that his order had been ignored. He didn't realize that his actions were being noticed by other guests, who were whispering among themselves. The night ended quietly, but the next morning would change everything. The same manager who looked down on Maya would soon face a moment that would shake his pride completely. Because the man he treated with little respect and the young girl he made feel small were not just ordinary guests. Mr. Stephen was about to learn that kindness costs nothing, and respect is something everyone deserves. What he didn't know was that Maya's father was no ordinary man. He was the mayor of the very city that kept his hotel running, and soon everyone would know it. The next morning began quietly at the Silver Palm Hotel. The sun shone softly through the large glass windows, and the sound of birds could be heard from the garden outside. The guests moved around the breakfast area, enjoying the fresh smell of coffee and warm bread. Everything seemed peaceful, but inside Mr. Stephen's mind, things were different. He was already irritated because one of the housekeepers had called in sick, and he had to manage extra work. He walked around the lobby with a strict face, making sure every chair was in the right place and every table was clean. In their hotel room, Maya and her father were getting ready for breakfast. Maya wore a yellow dress that matched her bright personality. She looked cheerful again because she wanted to start the day with a smile. Her father helped her fix her hair and said kindly, "You look lovely, Maya. Let's go have some breakfast before we explore the city." Maya nodded with excitement. "Can we visit the park after breakfast, Dad?" Her father smiled. "Of course, sweetheart. We'll go wherever you like." When they reached the restaurant, the same friendly staff member from last night greeted them. "Good morning, sir. Good morning, miss. Your table is ready near the window." Maya's face lit up with joy. "Thank you," she said softly. The staff member smiled warmly. "You're most welcome, miss." But once again, Mr. Stephen noticed them from the other side of the room. His mood turned sour. He whispered to one of the waiters, "Make sure they don't block the walkway again. Guests need space to move freely." The waiter nodded, but he looked uncomfortable. Everyone could see that Maya and her father were polite and caused no trouble. Yet the manager's tone made the staff uneasy. As Maya enjoyed her breakfast, she looked around the restaurant with curious eyes. She loved watching people talk and laugh. She noticed a little boy sitting nearby who smiled at her. She smiled back and waved. It made her feel a bit happier. Mr. Brown looked at his daughter with pride. He was used to being a calm man, but inside he was deeply disappointed with how they had been treated since they arrived. He believed in giving people chances to correct themselves. so he had decided not to reveal who he really was just yet. He wanted to see if kindness would come naturally to the manager without knowing his position. While they were eating, a small incident happened. A man in a suit walked by quickly and accidentally bumped into Maya's wheelchair. The chair rolled slightly and her juice glass spilled on the table. The man immediately apologized. "Oh, I'm so sorry, miss. I didn't see that." Before Mr. Brown could answer, Mr. Stephen rushed over and frowned at Maya. "You must be careful with your chair," he said coldly. "You've spilled juice on our tablecloth." Mr. Brown looked at him calmly. "Sir, it was not her fault. Someone bumped into her." Mr. Stephen ignored him. "These things happen when people bring extra equipment into tight spaces. Please make sure this doesn't happen again." The entire restaurant grew quiet. Several guests looked at Mr. Stephen with disapproval. Maya felt tears in her eyes, but she held them back. The man who had bumped into her spoke up. "Excuse me, sir, it was my mistake. I should have been careful." Mr. Stephen only nodded coldly and walked away, pretending not to hear. Mr. Brown gently patted Maya's hand. "It's all right, sweetheart." "Don't let his words bother you," Maya whispered. "He doesn't like me, Dad." Mr. Brown looked at her with a gentle smile. "You don't need everyone to like you, my dear. The right people will see your heart." After breakfast, they went out to visit the city. Maya loved the park, the birds, and the ice cream stalls. She laughed as her father told her funny stories. For a while, she forgot about the rude manager and just enjoyed being a child. But back at the hotel, Mr. Stephen's day became more stressful. He received a call from the city office saying that an important government guest would visit the hotel that evening for an unplanned inspection. Mr. Stephen panicked. He wanted the hotel to look perfect and everyone to act professional. He didn't want anything or anyone to ruin his image in front of a high-ranking official. He gathered the staff and said firmly, "Everyone, listen carefully. We have a very important guest arriving tonight. I don't know exactly who it is yet, but it could be someone from the mayor's office. I want everything spotless. No mistakes." The staff nodded and rushed to prepare. By afternoon, Maya and her father returned to the hotel. Mr. Brown went to the reception desk to ask about some local places they could visit the next day. Mr. Stephen was there again. When he saw them, his expression hardened. "What do you need now?" he asked sharply. Mr. Brown remained polite. "I just wanted to ask about a few places nearby that are accessible for my daughter." "Maybe museums or gardens," Mr. Stephen sighed impatiently. "This is a hotel, sir, not a travel office. I don't have time for such things. You can search online." Maya looked up at her father, waiting for him to respond. But instead of showing anger, Mr. Brown simply smiled and said, "Thank you for your time." He gently turned Maya's wheelchair and walked away. Later that evening, when Mr. Stephen learned that the important guest would arrive soon, he became very nervous. He made sure the lobby was clean and the staff stood straight in line. The air smelled of fresh flowers and the chandeliers sparkled. Everything looked ready. Just before the clock struck 6, a black car stopped outside the hotel. The staff rushed to the entrance to welcome the guest. Mr. Stephen adjusted his tie and fixed his hair. He expected someone famous, maybe a businessman or an official he could impress. The doors opened, and to his shock, the man who stepped out of the car was none other than Mr. Brown. Maya sat beside him in her wheelchair, smiling softly as the driver helped them out. The entire lobby froze for a moment. Mr. Stephen's mouth fell open. He looked at them in disbelief. Mr. Brown walked forward calmly. The city security guards who had come with him stepped aside respectfully. The staff bowed slightly, realizing who he was. One of them whispered, "That's the mayor, sir." Mr. Stephen's face turned pale. His throat felt dry as he stammered, "Mayor Brown, sir, I didn't know you were—" Mr. Brown smiled politely. "Good evening, Mr. Stephen. I was staying here quietly for a few days to see how guests are treated in this hotel. I didn't want any special treatment, only respect and kindness." The staff looked shocked. Some looked down in embarrassment because they had seen how the manager had treated the mayor and his daughter. Maya looked around curiously. She didn't understand why everyone looked so surprised. She just held her father's hand and whispered, "Dad, everyone's staring." Her father smiled gently. "It's all right, sweetheart. People are just learning something important today." Mr. Stephen tried to recover. "Sir, please forgive me. I didn't realize. If I had known, I would have—" Mr. Brown stopped him politely. "That's the point, Mr. Stephen. You shouldn't have to know who someone is to treat them with respect." The words hung in the air. The staff nodded slowly, realizing the truth in them. Mr. Stephen looked down, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Mr. Brown continued kindly but firmly, "I believe in second chances. I hope you will learn from this experience and treat every guest with the same care no matter their situation." Mr. Stephen nodded quickly. "Yes, sir. I understand. I truly do." Maya looked up at her father with pride. She could see how calm and strong he was even when others were wrong. The mayor smiled at the staff. "You all have a good hotel. Just remember, it's not the building that makes it special. It's the hearts inside it." Everyone clapped softly. Mr. Stephen stood silently, his face red with shame. As the evening went on, news of the mayor's visit spread across the hotel. Guests whispered about how the manager had learned a big lesson that day. And for Maya, it was a moment she would never forget. She had seen kindness win without anger and respect return without pride. That evening, the whole atmosphere in the Silver Palm Hotel changed. The staff moved around quietly, speaking in low voices. Everyone was still thinking about what had just happened. The mayor of the city had been staying in their hotel all along, and no one knew. Some of the staff were proud that they had been kind to Maya and her father, but others, especially Mr. Stephen, felt deep regret. He sat in his office with his head in his hands, replaying every rude word he had spoken since their arrival. For the first time in years, Mr. Stephen felt small. He had always believed that being strict and showing authority made him respected, but now he realized it only made him feared. He remembered how cold his tone had been when he had spoken to Maya. He had made a little girl feel unwanted, and that thought filled him with shame. Meanwhile, Mr. Brown and Maya were relaxing in their room. The city lights sparkled outside the window, and the soft wind blew through the curtains. Maya looked thoughtful. "Dad," she said softly, "you didn't tell anyone you were the mayor." "Why?" Her father smiled gently. "Because, Maya, I wanted to see how people act when they don't know who we are. That's when you see their true nature. It's easy to be kind when someone is powerful, but real kindness is shown when there's nothing to gain." Maya thought about his words carefully. "So you wanted to see if people here are good inside?" "Yes," he said, nodding. "And we found some who are, like the bellboy and the waiter who helped us. They showed respect without expecting anything. That's real goodness." Maya smiled at the memory of the kind staff who had treated her nicely. "I liked them. They made me feel welcome." Mr. Brown smiled back. "Good people always make others feel that way. The world needs more hearts like theirs." Later that night, there was a soft knock on their door. When Mr. Brown opened it, Mr. Stevens stood there holding a small box of flowers. His face looked tired and worried. "Good evening, Mayor Brown," he said quietly. "I hope I'm not disturbing you." Mr. Brown nodded politely. "No, not at all. Please come in." Mr. Stevens stepped inside slowly. "Sir, I came to say I'm truly sorry for how I behaved. I treated you and your daughter unfairly, and I regret every word. I've learned my mistake." Maya looked at him with wide eyes. She didn't expect the strict manager to visit them. Mr. Brown spoke calmly. "Thank you for your honesty, Mr. Stephen. Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is what we do after realizing them." Mr. Stephen took a deep breath. "You're right, sir. I was wrong to judge anyone by appearance or situation. Your daughter reminded me that respect should not depend on anything." He turned to Maya and said softly, "I'm sorry, young lady. You deserved kindness from the start." Maya smiled gently. "It's okay. I forgive you." Her words were simple, but they touched Mr. Stevens' heart. He had spent years running the hotel like a machine, but now, for the first time, he felt the warmth of true forgiveness. When Mr. Stephen left, Maya said, "Dad, he really looked sorry." Mr. Brown nodded. "Yes, and that means he might change. Sometimes one lesson can open someone's heart forever." The next morning, the hotel was filled with a different kind of energy. The staff worked with genuine smiles, not because they were afraid of the manager, but because they wanted to do better. Mr. Stephen called for a meeting with all the employees. Everyone gathered in the lobby, curious to know what he would say. He stood in front of them, his voice clear but humble. "Yesterday I learned something important. For too long I've been managing this hotel by rules and appearances. I forgot that the real purpose of this place is to make people feel welcome. I want to change that starting today." The staff listened closely as he continued. "Every guest, no matter who they are, deserves the same kindness. It doesn't matter what they look like, where they come from, or what they need. Respect should be our first rule. The employees nodded, impressed by his words. Many of them had never heard him speak so sincerely. He turned to one of the receptionists. Also, I want to start a new program for our staff. We'll receive training to better assist guests with disabilities. Everyone deserves comfort and dignity. The receptionist smiled. That's a wonderful idea, sir. Mr. Stephen looked relieved. It's the least we can do after what I've learned. Meanwhile, Mr. Brown and Maya were having breakfast in the same restaurant as before. This time, everything felt different. The waiter greeted them with extra warmth, and even other guests smiled at them. Maya noticed that people seemed kinder now, not just to her but to everyone around. She whispered to her father, "Dad, do you think the manager really changed?" Mr. Brown smiled. "Yes, I believe he did. Sometimes a mistake teaches us more than success ever could." As they ate, Mr. Stephen approached their table again, but this time his face was calm and respectful. "Mayor Brown, Miss Maya," he said kindly, "I wanted to let you know that starting next week our hotel will offer free city tours for children and families with disabilities. We want everyone to feel included." Maya's face brightened. "Really, that's amazing." Mr. Brown smiled proudly. "That's a wonderful step, Mr. Stephen. I appreciate your effort." Mr. Stephen nodded. "It's something we should have done long ago. Thank you for helping me see it." After breakfast, the mayor and his daughter prepared to check out. When they came to the lobby, the entire staff stood together to thank them. The bellboy handed Maya a small gift bag. Inside was a handmade card signed by everyone. It said, "Thank you for reminding us what kindness means." Maya held the card close to her heart. "This is so sweet. Thank you all." Mr. Brown smiled warmly. "You've all done well. Keep treating every guest with the same kindness, and your hotel will shine brighter than ever." As they were about to leave, Mr. Stephen came forward again. "Mayor Brown, may I ask something?" "Of course," the mayor said. "Would you consider returning someday not as the mayor but as a guest and a friend? I would like to welcome you properly this time." Mr. Brown smiled kindly. "We'll be happy to come back. And next time, we'll bring good memories from the start." Maya laughed softly. "And maybe I can have another breakfast near the window." Everyone smiled. As they drove away from the hotel, Maya looked back through the car window. The hotel stood tall under the sunlight, but to her it looked different now. It wasn't just a building of stone and glass. It was a place where hearts had changed. She turned to her father. "Dad, do you think Mr. Stephen will really stay kind?" Her father looked thoughtful. "I think he will. Sometimes it takes one person, even a small girl in a wheelchair, to remind others of what truly matters." Maya smiled proudly. "Then I'm glad I came here." "You made a difference, Maya," he said softly. "Never forget that." Back at the hotel, Mr. Stephen stood at the entrance, watching their car disappear down the road. He felt a deep sense of peace that he had not felt in years. He turned to his assistant and said, "We're going to make this hotel a place of real hospitality. No one will ever feel unwelcome here again." His assistant smiled. "That's a promise worth keeping, sir." From that day forward, the Silver Palm Hotel became known not just for its beauty, but for its heart. Guests of all kinds visited and left with warm smiles, and on one of the walls near the reception, Mr. Stephen hung a framed quote that read, "Kindness is the true key to greatness." Every time he passed by, he would look at it and remember the little girl who taught him that lesson. Weeks passed after the mayor and his daughter left the Silver Palm Hotel. The days were brighter and there was a new feeling in the air. The staff worked with energy and kindness that came from the heart. The hotel that once felt cold now felt warm and friendly. Guests who stayed there could feel the change. They noticed how the workers smiled more and helped without being asked. Mr. Stephen, who had once been feared by his staff, had become a very different man. He had learned something that no business rule could ever teach. Respect was the real foundation of success. Every morning, he now greeted his staff with a cheerful voice. He would walk around the lobby, not to find mistakes, but to thank people for their good work. The staff were surprised at first. Many could not believe that their strict manager could be so gentle. But as days went by, they realized he was sincere. One morning, Mr. Stephen gathered everyone in the lobby. He smiled as he looked around. "Friends, I want to thank you all for helping make this hotel a better place. I have seen the change in each of you, and it makes me proud. Today I want to share something special with you. The staff stood in a circle waiting curiously. Mr. Stephen continued, "We are starting a new program. Every month we will invite children from local schools and hospitals to spend a day here at the Silver Palm. They will get to enjoy our gardens, our food, and learn how hotels work. We will especially focus on children with disabilities because they deserve to feel special and included." There was a moment of silence, and then everyone clapped with joy. The bellboy who had been kind to Maya was the first to speak. "That's a beautiful idea, sir. I know Miss Maya would be very happy if she heard this." Mr. Stephen nodded softly. "Yes, she inspired all of this. She showed me that a small act of kindness can change a big world." Over the next few weeks, the hotel prepared for the first event. Decorations were arranged, balloons were tied in the garden, and the kitchen planned a menu of delicious treats. When the special day came, a group of children arrived with their teachers and parents. Some used wheelchairs, some needed help to walk, but all of them were smiling. Mr. Stephen personally welcomed them at the door. "Welcome to the Silver Palm, everyone. Today, this place belongs to you." The children clapped and laughed with excitement. The staff guided them around, showing the restaurant, the kitchen, and the rooftop garden. The chef let them taste fresh fruit and cakes, and the waiters played fun games with them. The whole hotel was filled with laughter and happiness. As Mr. Stephen watched the children enjoying themselves, he felt something deep inside, a peace he had never known before. For the first time, he realized that true success was not about money or reputation, but about how much happiness one could bring to others. Later that afternoon, he sat in his office and began to write a letter. He wrote slowly, carefully choosing his words. It was a letter to Mayor Brown and Maya. "Dear Mayor Brown and Miss Maya, I hope you are both doing well. I wanted to share something special with you. Inspired by your visit, we have started a new program for children and families. Every month we open our doors to those who need care and joy. It has already brought so much happiness to this hotel. Maya, your kindness has changed our hearts forever. You reminded me of what truly matters. Thank you. With gratitude, Stephen." He sealed the letter and sent it that very day. A week later, Mr. Stephen received a reply. The envelope had the mayor's official seal, and inside was a simple note written in neat handwriting. "Dear Mr. Stephen, your letter made us very happy." Maya was smiling the whole time I read it to her. "We are proud of what you have done for others. We will visit soon to see your wonderful program in person. Keep spreading kindness. With warm regards, Mayor Brown." Mr. Stephen placed the letter on his desk and a smile grew on his face. He kept reading the last line again and again. Keep spreading kindness. It became his new motto. Days turned into months, and the hotel became famous not only for its service but also for its heart. Guests from other cities came after hearing stories about the new Silver Palm. Newspapers wrote about how a simple hotel became a place of love and respect. Some even called it the heart of Greenwood. One morning, a reporter came to interview Mr. Stephen. She asked, "What made you start this change? Many hotels care only about luxury and business, but yours seems to care about people." Mr. Stephen smiled thoughtfully. "A young girl named Maya came here once. She faced unkindness from me, and it taught me the most powerful lesson of my life. She showed me that a hotel should not just be a place to stay, but a place that feels like home to everyone." The reporter nodded with admiration. "That is truly inspiring." The story spread quickly, and soon many people wanted to stay at the hotel to experience the kindness they had heard about. The business improved more than ever, but Mr. Stephen no longer cared only about profit. His happiness now came from the smiles he saw every day. A few weeks later, the day came when Mayor Brown and Maya returned to the city. The staff were overjoyed when they heard the news. Everyone wanted to meet them again. The hotel prepared a warm welcome with flowers and banners that said, "Welcome back, Maya." When the car arrived, Mr. Stephen stood at the entrance with the entire team. As soon as Maya rolled through the doors in her wheelchair, the lobby filled with applause. She looked around with wide eyes and laughed with delight. "Everything looks so beautiful," she said. Mr. Stephen stepped forward and greeted her with a kind smile. "Welcome back, Miss Maya. It is an honor to see you again." Maya smiled back. "Thank you, Mr. Stephen. I can tell you kept your promise." He nodded proudly. "Yes, and because of you, this place is full of love now." Mayor Brown shook hands with Mr. Stephen and said warmly, "You've done wonderful work here. I can see the difference. Greenwood is proud to have a place like this. The mayor and his daughter spent the day exploring the hotel. They met the staff, visited the garden, and even joined the children's activity event that was taking place that same day. Maya played a small role in guiding some of the younger children, helping them draw pictures and make crafts. Everyone admired her cheerful spirit. During lunch, Mr. Stevens stood up to make a short speech. "Friends," he said, "today is special because the people who helped us start this journey are with us." Maya and Mayor Brown reminded us that true greatness comes from the heart. Because of them, we learned to see people not for what they look like or where they come from, but for who they are. Everyone clapped loudly. Maya blushed and looked at her father, who gave her a proud smile. After the event, Mr. Stephen gifted Maya a framed picture. It showed a drawing of the hotel surrounded by smiling children. At the bottom it said, "Kindness builds every wall." Maya held the frame close and said softly, "I'll keep this forever." Mr. Brown placed a hand on Mr. Stevens' shoulder. "You have turned a painful mistake into a beautiful story. That is not easy to do." Mr. Stephen nodded humbly. "Your visit changed me, sir. I'll never forget it." As the sun began to set, the mayor and his daughter prepared to leave once more. The staff gathered again to wave goodbye. Before stepping into the car, Maya turned and said, "Goodbye, everyone. Don't forget to smile and be kind." The entire staff waved back with joy, shouting, "Goodbye, Miss Maya." As the car drove away, the golden light of the evening filled the sky. Mr. Stevens stood silently for a moment, watching it fade. He whispered softly, "Thank you, Maya." From that day forward, the Silver Palm Hotel became a symbol of kindness across the city. And every time a child laughed in its hallways, every time a guest smiled at the staff, a part of Maya's gentle spirit lived on within those walls. The next morning, the city was filled with news about what had happened at the Grand Royal Hotel. Every newspaper had the same picture of Mayor Lewis walking into the hotel with his daughter Mia in her wheelchair, and the hotel manager Mr. Rogers standing beside them with a guilty face. Reporters were curious to know how a man in such a respected position could have behaved in that way. But more than that, they wanted to hear what the mayor would do about it. Mia sat by the window in her room, looking outside. She had mixed feelings about everything. She was not angry anymore, but she still felt sad about the way she was treated. She wanted to believe people could learn and change. Her father entered the room and smiled softly at her. He looked tired but calm. "Mia," he said gently, "are you ready to go to the community event today?" She nodded. "Yes, Dad, but will everyone be talking about what happened?" The mayor sighed. "Maybe, but that's not a bad thing. Sometimes one incident can open people's eyes to what is wrong and help them do better." He helped her get ready, and soon they both left for the event. The hotel had offered to host it, wanting to make things right. Mr. Rogers himself had called the mayor's office the previous night to apologize again and offered to help organize an awareness program for staff training and inclusion. When they arrived, the hotel lobby looked different from before. The decorations were warm and welcoming, and there were signs showing support for diversity and kindness. People smiled when they saw Mia and her father arrive. Cameras flashed, but Mayor Lewis stayed focused on the reason he was there, to send a message about compassion and understanding. Mr. Rogers came forward nervously. He looked very different from the angry man of that day. His face showed regret and he spoke carefully. "Mayor Lewis, Miss Mia, thank you for coming. I know I can never undo what happened, but I promise this place will never make anyone feel small again." The mayor looked at him and then at Mia. He wanted her to have a voice in this moment. "What do you think, Mia?" he asked. She smiled kindly and said, "I think everyone makes mistakes, but what matters is what you do after you realize it. If you truly mean to change, then I forgive you." Her words touched everyone in the room. Mr. Rogers lowered his head, tears filling his eyes. He said, "Thank you. I will never forget this." The event began with speeches about inclusion and respect. Mia sat beside her father as he addressed the audience. "What happened here was not just about my daughter. It was about how we treat each other when no one is watching. My daughter was not treated unfairly because of who she is, but because of how someone saw her. We all must remember that kindness costs nothing, but it can change everything." The crowd clapped and many people were moved by his words. Reporters took notes and some guests even came forward to share their own experiences. It turned into a beautiful event full of understanding and unity. Later, when the speeches were over, a woman from the hotel's management team approached Mia. She handed her a small card and said, "This is a special membership. You and your family can stay at any of our hotels whenever you like, free of charge. We want to make sure you always feel welcome." Mia smiled shyly. "Thank you, but I think I'll only come back if everyone here remembers to smile at each guest the same way." The woman laughed softly and nodded. "That's a deal." As the day went on, something beautiful happened. Guests, hotel staff, and city officials all began talking about how they could make public places more accessible for everyone. Ideas were shared, plans were made, and even a new program was announced to train workers in how to treat people with respect and dignity. Mayor Lewis watched proudly as his daughter became the center of inspiration for positive change. He leaned down and whispered to her, "You did more today than I ever could with my speeches. You changed hearts." Mia looked up and said, "I didn't do anything special. I just told the truth." That evening, as they prepared to leave, the hotel staff lined up to say goodbye. Even Mr. Rogers stood among them, not as a boss this time, but as someone who had learned a lesson. He shook Mia's hand gently. "You reminded me that my job is not just about running a hotel. It's about welcoming people into a place that feels safe. I promise to be better." Mia nodded. "Thank you. I believe you will." When they got back home, the mayor and Mia sat down together in the living room. The city skyline glowed outside the window. The mayor turned to his daughter and said, "You know, sometimes life gives us difficult moments not to hurt us but to teach us something. Because of what happened, this city will now have better rules for equality and inclusion." Mia smiled. Then it was worth it. A week later, the news channels ran a story called "From Pain to Progress," how a young girl's strength changed a city. It showed clips from the event, interviews with people who attended, and a short statement from the hotel. The story inspired many across the state. Schools started holding kindness programs, and hotels and restaurants began updating their accessibility standards. One afternoon, Mia and her father were invited to a local school. The children wanted to meet the girl who had taught adults a lesson about kindness. Mia sat in front of a group of smiling faces and spoke softly but clearly. "You don't have to be a mayor or a manager to make a difference. You just have to be kind and stand up when something is wrong." The children clapped and asked her many questions. Her message stayed in their hearts. From that day forward, whenever someone in the city felt left out or different, people remembered Mia's story and chose to act with understanding instead of judgment. Months later, the Grand Royal Hotel won a special award for social responsibility. During the ceremony, Mr. Rogers thanked the mayor and Mia for helping him and his staff learn a valuable lesson. He ended his speech by saying, "That young girl reminded us what true hospitality means." The mayor and Mia were there to witness it. They smiled proudly, not because they wanted credit, but because they knew something good had grown from something painful. As they left the stage together, the mayor looked at his daughter and said, "You've made this city better." "Mia," she looked up at him and answered, "No, Dad, we did it together." And from that day on, people didn't just remember the hotel as a place of luxury. They remembered it as the place where a lesson in kindness began, a lesson that spread across the city, teaching everyone that respect, compassion, and love are what truly make a community strong.